Everybody. Maxime Bernier is tweeting, and I've got a CBC News article to show you. It's a propaganda piece, and man, they go deep into the rabbit hole of propaganda, shaming people for protesting and trying to say that's not the way forward, that's not how civil societies behave, and then yeah, it's quite the interesting piece, and I've got a funny little video clip that I made to go with it. So we're talking rule of law, but first, Maxime Bernier. Maxime Bernier is tweeting, and this whole big tweet thread, and it says, 2018 will be remembered as a crucial year for Canadian politics. For the first time in years or even decades, we've finally begun to debate issues that matter to Canadians and will determine Canada's future. Issues that were never discussed or were only discussed from big government perspectives because they were considered too controversial by the mainstream media and established elites. Issues that the old line parties, and in particular the pandering, morally and intellectually corrupt Conservative Party, did not want to touch for fear of angering some political clientele or special interest groups. 4. Immigration, corporate welfare, identity politics based on gender, race, and sexual orientation, supply management, equalization, Ottawa's intrusion into provincial jurisdictions, foreign aid, the UN's globalist agenda, multiculturalism, climate change, healthcare reform, etc. 5. And why are these issues now being debated in the open? Because the People's Party of Canada is forcing everyone to address them, of course. Without our growing team, it would never have happened. 6. Now get ready for 2019. It will be an even more important year. The year when Canadians realize that only the People's Party of Canada offers principled, concrete, and ambitious solutions to deal with these issues. The year when you finally have a real choice. And yeah, I agree with Maxime on this one. This list right here are all items that he's talked about with his fledgling party, his young party. And the Conservative Party has had 3 years to get their platform together to roll out. Welcome to an election year, guys. We're there right now, 2019. And Mr. Scheer's waffling on climate change. He doesn't have a plan for that, and we haven't heard anything other than the gangs and crime stuff from him. So that's okay, fine, right? Like, it's not quite election year and you don't want to peak too early. I understand all that, right? No problem. But Maxime Bernier doesn't seem like he's running out of too much steam, and that's a long list of things we can talk about. How about talking about the UN's globalist agenda? I don't know. How about having an open conversation about that in the House? Because that would be something that would create some news, I think, right? Let's talk about it a lot. It's important. Multiculturalism, is it working? Well, the Islamic Party of Ontario, I think it's working for them. It looks like it's working for their means and ends, right? What they want to accomplish, it's facilitating their goals, right? So we should be having conversations about this. Climate change and the best way to deal with it. Is it the flawed Canadian model of charging people a tax that doesn't actually do anything and gets given back to people directly? In fact, more than the estimates that you're going to pay in? Is that the way we want to do it? We should maybe have a debate on it, right? Foreign aid, we should maybe have a debate on it, rather than just sending all of our money out of Canada and removing transfer payments from Alberta. We've got a province that's hurting and they want a pipeline. Okay, so moving forward, so in my opinion, I'm glad Maxime Bernier has this laundry list. I'm glad that he's pushing the Conservative Party to be better, because that creates the conversation. And politics is all about the exchange of ideas. That's the backbone. Who's got the best ideas to run our country? Which one? Which party? And can they do it? Do they have the team, right? Because that matters. If you have an NDP party full of teachers and part-time baristas and whatever else, students, right? People who have drunk the Kool-Aid and believe they're doing the right thing or whatever, but can they actually execute? Have they ever negotiated a big deal before, Miss Freeland? When did you do that? Did you negotiate a raise at your reporter job? No? Well, Mr. Trump does deals like that for breakfast, and he appointed somebody who was experienced and who knew what was realistic and what wasn't. And you, Miss Freeland, wasted an entire summer negotiating in bad faith, trying to get bad language into what was ultimately a bad for Canada USMCA, right? A bad bill. You failed at your one job. Failed. So, yeah, I want to have conversations about this. I want to talk about what to do. I want to have people in place, the team in place that can actually do it. And yeah, I hope Bernier gets that team together. I really do. And if he doesn't have that team together, well, then the election becomes a two-horse race, and Scheer better step up, because right now he's lagging behind. And what's he lagging behind on? Here's the list. Right there. You want to catch up? That's your list. You're behind. Okay. And I said, well, let's look at one more of Maxime's tweets. No, I'm not going to look at one more of Maxime's tweets. I'm going to say, I said that this election is about ideas. The backbone of this election is about ideas. And this is the opinion piece that I was talking about, the hardcore propaganda opinion piece. It's written by Susan Wright for the CBC, and she's advocating for civility in politics. And histrionics is like acting out, right? Histrionics is this, is protesting, right? Histrionics is divisive, is her hypothesis here. And that's not plain, I don't think. I had to look that word up. I didn't know that word off the top of my head. So, good use of language there, Miss Wright. But I want to call attention to a couple of areas. And once I started reading the article, I realized that this is basically, calm down, everybody. We're above this, right? We're above protesting. And my rebuttal to basically most of her article is, we would be above protesting if the government were doing what most of the people wanted, but most of the people don't want what our government is doing. And in the face of that, they are ignoring the people. And when that happens, you see people acting out. And it's not, that's the only way to communicate to a government that's not listening. Well, that and stopping to pay taxes, and we should be. Some kind of tax protest or something to that effect, because our tax dollars are going literally, like your municipal tax dollars if you live in Toronto or other major cities, in Quebec as well, are going to put up non-citizens in hotels. It's insanity. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, back to this article anyway. She's saying we're above this. We should not be protesting. Histrionics doesn't lead to acting out. Protesting doesn't lead to a civil society, basically, okay? And, quote, this is from the article. It says, histrionics drives us apart. Civility gives us a chance to come together, or at the very least, default to the time-honored Canadian solution, compromise. You remember civility, the state of being polite, courteous, and respectful in one's speech and behavior. It still exists, but it's hiding under the bed to avoid being trampled by the angry mob. Madam, the only people I've seen creating an angry mob are insane leftist college students who think that 55-year-old or whatever professors, I'm not sure how old Mr. Peterson is, Dr. Peterson is, but, a 50-plus lecturer who is talking about people or talking to people about how to better their lives gains this response. This is not right-wing crazy people. This is left-wing crazy people. And we're going to watch this for like 25 seconds. So here we go. So that was outside, and this is inside. And they even disrupted the actual presentation. And this is a Queen's University. And right here you can see Jordan Peterson's speech. So the people who are misbehaving, from my perspective, are the leftists, the people who are standing out here with signs that are talking to the Prime Minister saying, you misrepresented what you were going to do. You lied to us. You have 4 ethics breaches, not to mention a whole bunch of other shady activity. And what else are they supposed to do exactly, right? The yellow vests in Paris are another example, and there are countless examples through history of people demonstrating publicly against governments that have gone rogue. And more, though, there are examples of this where people are saying your speech is not free because it's hate speech. And no, not on. Speech is speech. And who determines what hate speech is the conversation that nobody's ever had. So at some point, everything is hate speech, right? The second it's offensive, it becomes hate speech, or offensive enough to somebody, and that's not okay. And this article just doesn't talk about that. I'm going to jump down as well, and this is when I stopped reading the article, and I'm not going to read the rest of it to you because she starts talking about Martin Luther King and Gandhi, and just really goes off the rails. It's kind of funny, but she says, we live in a society governed by the rule of law, and I'm like, my goodness, I've heard that before. Yes, I have, and we're going to watch it right now. Good evening, everybody. I wasn't going to do a second video today, but I came across this tweet, and I pushed the wrong button. Hold on a second. I'll get the right video queued up. Here it is.
Is and will always remain a country of the rule of law. We all agree that the most important thing we can do is to uphold the rule of law.
A set of robust principles around rule of law, around our expectations that the rule of law will be followed around the world, and we demonstrate that that is at the heart of our approach. We've also been unequivocal about standing up for human rights, the rule of law, and a predictable rules-based international order. We will continue to demonstrate that we take these principles and these values very seriously, and expect our trading partners and all countries around the world to be similarly committed to the rule of law.
To politicize the extradition process or use it for ends other than the pursuit of justice and following the rule of law.
So there you go. There you go. The rule of law is very important to our government and to our government-paid news. So propaganda piece up and down, and really just a waste of time. Really, civility, everyone, or get out and tell your government what you think, because that is the tried and true way of getting change, right? That and the ballot box, right? So. One more story I wanted to touch on, and this is just a story I came across a couple of days ago, and it hasn't fit in anywhere else, so it'll fit in here, is this is another CBC piece. It says, quote, growing number of refugees arriving in Canada as unaccompanied minors. And I'm just going to show you. This is 17-year-old Elise. She was 15 when she fled the Congo, right? Sure. And this down here, let's see, where is he? This is 20-year-old Sadiq. He came here when he was 17. Okay, right? Sure. He looks like a recently turned 20-year-old. Right. And here, in an unrelated story, is Gateway Pundit reporting Swedish dentist reveals 80% of migrant, quote, children are actually adults, is fired, and now may lose home. And this was reported October 11th, 2017. Swedish dentist Bert Hurlitz revealed to authorities that after checking the molar teeth of hundreds of migrant children, that 80% of the so-called children were actually adults. Hurlitz was quickly fired and now may lose his home. And we won't go through the rest of this, but that's a sad story and seems cogent when this is being reported on the CBC December 30th, 2018. It seems fishy to me. Right? Seems fishy to me. So thank you very much for watching. Check out the peoplespartyofcanada.ca. You just might want to read more of Maxime Bernier's tweets or find out more about his political party's platform, the People's Party. You may want him as your next prime minister. I certainly do. Thanks for watching, everybody.